going on, everybody? It's your boy Phoenix here, back with a brand new Marvel Spider-Man 2 informational video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Daily Bugle and how Peter and Jameson can meet again and how that could work out well in the game. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys go ahead and hit that like button down below. And without a doubt, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, we already know for a fact that in the game, Peter already has worked for the Daily Bugle and introducing certain characters that he used to know, such as, Betty Brant or, Eddie Brock can be put in there too. And without a doubt, it seems like, based on the game, it seems like we already know for a fact that Peter has already worked at the Daily Bugle. So, without a doubt, we're going to go ahead and read this. This article comes from Game Rant, and it says, Insomniac has intentionally left gaps in the Spider-Man story, allowing fans to use their imaginations to fill them in. Gwen Stacy and miscellaneous Spider-Man villains have yet to be featured in the game, giving Insomniac plenty of material to draw from in the future developments. It would be exciting to see Peter or Spider-Man have a face-to-face encounter with J. Jonah Jameson, especially now that Jameson is back at the Bugle and MJ works there too. Now, with this being a fact that MJ works there too, we could see Peter, or we could see Peter as Spider-Man, have an encounter with J. Jonah Jameson as well. Especially, I would love to see how Jameson's going to feel with having two Spider-Man in New York. I feel like that's going to be an amazing way for Jameson to see that, because we did get a chance to see that in Miles Morales as well, with the fact that we actually had a chance to see Jameson in person as well, which was a very interesting idea. But following that, it says, if Insomniac wanted to now, it could be completely content to move forward with Marvel Spider-Man 2 and resist looking back at the continuity's history. Much was established as being part of the overarching world around Peter and his companions. And like any good world building, Insomniac knew not to try to explain away every single detail. Instead, fans are able to use their imagination to fill in the gaps the story has left in nearly a decade of Peter being Spider-Man. While some details have indeed been shared to give context to larger story beats that are commonly popular in Spider-Man canon. Now, with the fact that Peter has been Spider-Man for nearly a decade in the game, that leaves us up to the fact that we already know for a fact that he's already fought the Lizard at one point. And on top of that, to mention for the fact that there's a whole bunch of stuff that they can draw from, for the fact that he's already taken on Chameleon. There's like a lot of missions that clearly state that half of the people that Peter has met while being Spider-Man, he's already had a history with, which is why I like it. And filling in the gaps of that makes a lot of sense. Like, for example, we already know for a fact that, like I said before, Peter has worked at the Daily Bugle before. But following that, it says, many fans have wondered whether Insomniac's take on Gwen Stacy could appear in the Marvel Spider-Man franchise, considering how there has been no mention of her yet. There are also many other Spider-Man villains that have yet to be featured or referenced, giving Insomniac a wealth of lore to draw from for as long as it decides to develop Spider-Man games. That said, one character pairing or encounter has yet to happen in the game for players to enjoy, despite them knowing each other fairly well already. And that's another meeting between Peter or Spider-Man and J. Jonah Jameson. Now, with this happening, we already know for a fact that Peter already knows and has met J. Jonah already. And with this, there's a chance that they could meet up in the game. And that's a pairing that I would love to see how that would go, because of the fact that we don't really know so much about Jameson in the game. Like, we haven't seen him, like, in the game at all. We've only seen him in Miles Morales whenever he's chasing Rhino. And we've only seen him, most of the time we only hear him over, his just the facts with J. Jonah Jameson, and that's pretty much it. But following that, it says, Peter was a freelance photographer at the Daily Bugle, and the best piece of evidence he has kept from that time in his life is the farewell card he received from others at the Bugle when he left, seemingly on good terms. Peter's reason for leaving the Bugle was related to a smear campaign Jameson unsurprisingly targeted Spider-Man within the press. But this past is interesting nonetheless, for the connection it gives Peter to Jameson, Joe Robertson, Gloria Grant, Betty Brant, and Eddie Brock Jr. Now, with this already in mind, we already know for a fact that since the Bugle's involved, I would love to see, potentially Gloria be involved. I would love to see Betty. We haven't seen Betty at all. But with the fact that, like I said before, since the Bugle is in the game, it makes sense for us to see these characters, especially Eddie Brock. But following that, it says, Peter pursuing his teaching career might seem like a spontaneous pivot after seeing his scientific ambitions in Marvel Spider-Man. And while it wouldn't make sense for him to come crawling back to the Bugle despite MJ working there, it would still be fantastic to see Peter and Jameson bump into each other again. There are surely loose threads there that could foam to the surface if they were in the same room together for a prolonged period of time. And if Peter was suited up as Spider-Man, that could prove even more entertaining. Moreover, since Peter will become much moodier as a result of wearing the symbiote, it would be terrific to see him unload on Jameson in a way he might never think to do otherwise. What if, or shout out to Salvage for pointing this out, what if the odds that the more stuff that Jameson says about Spider-Man, it's going to start getting on Peter's nerves, and the symbiote is going to want to potentially go off on him at some point. And with the symbiote potentially being in control of Peter's mind, it does make a lot of sense there. Spider-Man has technically been in the same room as Jameson in Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, but this is a passing glance while pursuing the Rhino to portray Jameson as a disgruntled podcaster. Jameson was also portrayed in the scene wearing a full Santa Claus costume, most likely in an effort for Insomniac to obscure his actual in-game features. This way, Insomniac wouldn't need to commit to a particular look for an NPC who wasn't getting any other screen time anyhow. Now, this was obviously really funny because, as you guys know, in Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, that is pretty much the first look that we have of him, like, actually, like, being, like, physically in the game and us having a good look at his character, aside from him wearing the full-on Santa costume. But following that, it says, regardless, Peter waving to Jameson as they swing through his studio was a cute nod to that adverse relationship they have, but the franchise deserves to have them come face to face in a full conversation. And there's a simple way Insomniac could write it into the narrative of Marvel Spider-Man 2. Because Jameson is now back at the Daily Bugle publication and Mary Jane works for him, it would seem easy enough to write, or at least to have a scene where Peter needs to meet her at the Bugle and runs into Jameson and potential other colleagues he had when he used to work there, such as, Eddie Brock or, anybody that he used to know while he was working there. We might potentially get a run in to where he hasn't seen Betty in like a minute or any other characters that were listed, potentially even Ned Leeds. But without a doubt, it's been your boy Phoenix, and I'll see you guys later with another spectacular, Spidey, webtastic banger.